This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with the weekly UFO Report podcast. I know you guys have been waiting for it. I got my Lou Elizondo hat on. He put out another statement today. There's been tons of very bizarre news this week, so we're going to go over it with none other than the common man's UFO reporter, none other than UFO Tarheel, KC, all the way from Charlotte, North Carolina, home of the nature boy Ric Flair, who had a run in with the Hannibal TV's own King of Connecticut last weekend in Florida in a video that has almost 600,000 views on
Oh
Facebook,
wow.
on our The Hannibal TV Facebook page. So Ric Flair, he's like 74, but he's still pulling in the hits. But he has moved to Florida now. He ditched Charlotte. But we're
Oh
talking
really?
about UFOs here. ah!
Yeah, we can talk about Flair. Yeah, and I mean you just lost your Elizondo Jurassic Park hat.
I did, yes. But yeah, no, we don't want to scare off the UFO fans who I know I've actually been getting messages. We have a bunch of people that are really enjoying this podcast. I guess the main news of this week that everyone has been talking about is that some of the stuff coming out about Sean Kirkpatrick, where they're
Mm-hmm.
saying you actually did an AI short for it on this
Yeah.
channel about alleging that a lot of this UFO stuff is hazing rituals, but I'll let you tell it.
Yeah, crazy, huh? And I mean, it's like there's so many emotions with that report with the and if I call it Winston-Salem Journal, I'm sorry. Every time I see WSJ, it's Wall Street Journal to all of you, but here in North Carolina, WSJ to means Winston-Salem Journal because it's right here near us in North Carolina. So I'll just say WSJ, but we're talking about Wall Street Journal. Um, I think it's are you a glass half full or glass half empty type person? That's how you're going to view it, right? So you can look at it and almost say that the Wall Street Journal helps ufology because they're doing a damn report about UFOs. It doesn't matter what they're talking about, right? I mean, who cares if they're throwing shade on the topic or not? They're covering it. So when people come along and they're like, I was just telling some people last week in a professional setting, work related. They're like, "What kind of podcast are you doing again?" And I said, "Oh, it's." And I even told them, I said, "I'm afraid to say because there's a stigma to it, and if I don't know you, I don't know how you're going to take it, right?" So, and I told them UFOs, UAP, and there is less stigma to it. They didn't make too much fun of me, but I think when they hear that there's a lot to do with Congress going on with it, and now there's a lot of major publications doing the report. Um, I think Wall Street Journal helps it. So, you know, who cares if it was good or bad what they reported? But yeah, I mean, kind of a hit job. It's okay because right around the same time, Green Street at New York Post, he did his report, right? And he did his video with and we'll cover that. We'll talk about that
And
too. I don't
Green
know.
Street is the guy that used to do the videos with Nick Pope, right? Or am I wrong there? Is that
I
someone
don't
else?
know. That's a good
Okay.
question. I don't want to misspeak. I didn't really start covering Green Street really well until like maybe a year ago. I've never been like one of his like on there watching a lot of his stuff. I love the detractors, or I love the people who pro ufologists look at as curmudgeons and they look at them as these antagonists. I love those roles. I think they are vital to ufology. Mick West, um, some of the people who have an X account that just sit out on X all day, just slamming ufology, like Green Street and the average Chris and some others. I love those guys. Keep them out there because you have to have it. You cannot have everyone singing in a choir without having a few devils in the audience. You got to have some
And
some
he turned.
detractors.
I just double checked for you guys. He did do the basement office with
Okay.
Nick Pope. He was a big supporter of it, and then something happened where They broke up. They're still friends apparently, but now Steven will put out stuff against UFOs where there he was more open minded, like a real reporter should be.
Yeah, and I mean, and when you actually dig down on these detractors, they actually want to believe. So I think Green Street, I like the report that he did with coming out with his video where he talked to Deputy Director Phillips. I'm wanting to say is his name, Tim Phillips. I can Google it and look it back up, but I'm pretty sure it was Tim Phillips. He was a former deputy director of Arrow, briefly director of Arrow. And I love the video report. So if people have not watched that yet, just YouTube New York Post, and it's probably one of the top videos this week. And the deputy director is spilling the beans on all kinds of stuff, but it is a pro ufology video because at the end, there you go. At the end, Tim Phillips does
Yeah, I
admit
don't
that
know
there
if
is
it's
true
on
UAP.
YouTube
Yeah,
or
it
if it's
is.
on the. Oh, it is on YouTube. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
New York Post has a YouTube channel, but yes, that's the video. I urge people to watch that. It is not long.
Yeah.
It's like a 20-minute video.
Green Streak has changed his look a bit since the last time I saw him.
Yeah, I mean, but it's so awesome
He
because at
can't
the
grow a
end,
goatee. He can't grow a full goatee.
yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
I mean,
make
he
fun of
makes
him
me
for
feel
that.
good. I can't grow a full beard like you, Hannibal, but I can grow a full goatee. So I didn't know there were people who could only do the partial. That's I feel bad for that. But they go into that video, and okay, we'll jump straight ahead to that since I'm kind of meandering. But Green Street, they spend that video talking about, okay, yeah, there's things at Area 51 that are wild looking, but it's ours and we create it, right? And there's these programs going on with these hazing rituals. They actually found out about the hazing rituals a while back, and the Air Force asked them to hold off. Hey, hold off. Don't do that report yet because we have to clean house first, kick some ass, tell people to stop doing those hazing rituals, and then y'all can do the report here in a couple of years. And they agreed to do it. And Arrow was like, okay. But it seems like they're slamming ufology, and then right there at the end, he tells Green Street, "No, there are still UAP. Sorry, pal, there are still UAP. We don't know what they are." Now, Phillips does say they're adversarial in his mind. He doesn't have proof of that. He's like, I don't know that they're adversarial, but he's like, he brought up the black triangles. He's like, we see these. Well, I don't know if he said black, but he said we see triangles and we don't know how to categorize those. And he said, my belief is adversarial, but he said, I have no proof they're alien, but they are true UAP. UAP meaning we don't know what that is floating around up there. So whether people like it or not, the report still ended with there's UAP, right? So we're back to square one. What is it? Whose is it? Where's it coming from? Square one. But the Wall Street Journal report, the amazing thing with that is they tried to step back into the Bob Salas, I think was his first name.
Yeah, I've interviewed
situation.
Bob Salas, by the way,
Awesome.
for anyone that hasn't checked that out. It's one of my best UFO interviews. I did it not only, I think last November, and he claims he's been abducted too.
Oh man, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I don't mean to laugh.
This is a very long interview.
Yeah.
He said for the first time ever, he said he broke the abduction thing with me. And it was actually Dan, who I'm interviewing on Monday about UFOs. He's Bob Salas's publicist. He hooked me up with that interview.
Okay.
So if you have any Bob Salas notes, I could ask Dan on Monday, and maybe we can have him back because he's a good guy.
Yeah. There's
Really
a lot,
guy.
and I love the story, and I am in 100% belief. So when people come to me and they say, "What stories do you actually believe that happened?" That's one of them because there's just too many corroborate. They were on Salas and one of his corroborating guys in charge of that situation that happened on base where they see this huge red object over a nuclear base. were on CNN. I mean, they were on major news talking about that. So I mean, they had corroborating evidence, and yeah, there he is.
There we go.
So he's
114,000 views, by the way, of the story of him telling it.
yeah. So they kind
Very
of attacked
interesting.
that, and they tried to say that was some type of EMP test. That's what the WSJ report said this week, that that was some kind of EMP test. So we were just fooling around with a test with our guys on the base, and we didn't tell them there was going to be this test and they're going to see some crazy shit up in the air. So we just figured we'd go ahead and run the test over this nuclear base, and and yeah, they're going to see some weird shit in the sky, but oh well, we're not going to tell nobody. The story, that explanation that WSJ put in that article is dumb as hell. I mean, compared to what actually probably happened, which was there was some anomalous stuff going on. And again, I'm not saying alien; it's just something that we didn't know what was in the sky was over that base. So they went into that, and then they tried to step into this hazing ritual thing. So essentially, what they do is, just to give everybody the abridgment here, is that they come in and they take new commanders in the Air Force. They show them UFO photos. They make them sign an NDA. And here's the key: those people are made to feel like you will be killed if you tell people about this information, and they don't circle back on that. So here's a couple things to wonder about there. If that's true, now again, you have to look at this both ways, right? We give the treatment to pro ufology people and we say, we want to see your proof. And they go, oh, well, I don't have an alien to show you. I don't have the actual spacecraft to show you, but I have this really super awesome high ranking official right here who's a whistleblower or eyewitness, and he can tell you about it. That's our exposure to ufology, right? Nobody listening here tonight, none of us have any kind of actual craft to show you. We can't just pull it up and go, here it is, and come over here to my house and you can put your hands on everything or a body or anything like that. None of us do. We have eyewitnesses. We have people who have seen it and they give their testimony, right? The same exact thing happens on the other side to the antagonist to the UFO subject, right? They do the same thing. They have eyewitnesses. They have high-ranking military officials telling them that there's a hazing ritual. Do we have proof there's a hazing ritual? No. We just have a witness, right? There's no video of one of these rituals being carried out. There's no photos of it. It's just eyewitnesses. So keep that in mind. But when they come out with that story, that's, if it is true, we'll just play that out. That's concerning because that's the bigger story here. It's not that there's a hazing ritual. It's that we have people, as Tim Phillips admits in his interview as well, kind of backing up the WSJ article. He said some of them were visibly scared when they were talking to him and telling Arrow about the UFOs and that there was a program, Yankee Blue or whatever. And he said some of them were visibly scared for their life. If that is true, that you took a hazing ritual and let me leave the room and let me go on about my career with this huge burden on my shoulders of the government knows that we're not alone and we have proof and they've just showed it to me, but I had to sign an NDA and then they told me they're going to kill me if I tell anybody and they didn't clear that up. That's messed up that they did that to their own people. That's the bigger story here. That's if it's true. So that's, I think that's the point that people miss about it is, people get mad and they go, oh, well, they're saying this and they're saying that, and they're throwing shade on the ufology community. Who quit worrying about that. Now there's actual proof that the government is messing with people. And now we need to call those people in, right? That we should start calling those people in and figuring out what they know. They're going to have to pull back in. I can't think of, is it Kozlowski? That's the new guy at Arrow.
Yeah.
Pull him in. He's got to come in and talk about it. They're going to have to pull him in front of Congress and they're going to have to grill him on it and go, what did you find out? What's going on? Because I think Luna came out and called it bullshit. I think they asked Luna and Luna was like, no, that sounds like a bunch of horse shit. So, and I mean, that's Luna. I mean, so Luna's kind of batshit crazy anyways, but it's, you have to take that for what it is. But I think like they need to pull these people. Yeah, you're going to have to pull Kozlowski back in and figure out what Arrow knows about that.
Yeah, and for people that don't know what Arrow is, if they're new to ufology, that's the all domain anomalous resolution office. Is that what it is? I don't know. Oh yeah, office. Yeah, it says right on here. So they are the government's alleged group appointed to find out what UAP are.
Yeah, and that's the one that when we talk about some of these people like Phillips, he was deputy director of that, right? So, that's so
That's
that
a
needs to
good
be.
point here. Do you think that'll ever happen? They need to audit all these affiliated aerospace companies and all their subsidiaries, etc. And I'd pull hard enough on that money string, UFOs will drop out.
So here's let's look at it this way. When the government wanted to expose social media companies, what did they do? Y'all remember when they yanked Zuckerberg and the guy that owned Twitter at the time, Jack something? I can't remember the name of the guy that used to own Twitter um, before Elon. But y'all remember they pulled all the social media giants in front of Congress and they made an ass of themselves. Congress did, because there's a bunch of old guys sitting up there that didn't know anything about tech, and they're asking questions.
It was owned by the Vanguard Group, and they own a lot. They actually
Yeah,
own the most stock of WWE. Apparently, they own like
yeah.
so much stuff. They have a
But
lot of
they
control over
but
this
they
world.
called social media heads in front, right? They pulled them in front, and it was so funny because they were asking Zuckerberg, "Well, why can't I clear my email box?" And why the hell is every time I go to this web page, this ads popping up? And he's like, I'm not here to fucking talk about like your cache and how to clear your cookies. Like, what are you talking about? And it was an embarrassment. I bring that up because what are the other big private companies in our country? Oil and private defense companies, like uh, what one of the commenters here is talking about. Why don't they ever pull them in front? You never see them out, and that's where I think is the $600,000 question. So the reason why our chain is being yanked and they're not serious about this, and the reason why 2 or 3 episodes ago I was so hard on Congress and I was telling people quit looking to Congress to answer any of this because they're not going to, is because of that exact point that just got made in the comments. If you really wanted to know something, you would go straight to the source and pull them in. Hey, we're paying you. We're Congress. We're supposed to be the power of the purse, right? So we are paying, technically, we are appropriating funds so that defense can go and spend $600 billion on these F-22s or whatever. And they won't do it. So that's why I think we're just getting our chain yanked from Congress. I personally have always thought Congress isn't going to do shit unless we're talking this Arrow stuff. So whenever you hear me advocating for somebody to come back in front of Congress, they're going to have to grill Arrow because I think Arrow's accountable to Congress somehow. But that's where I think like Congress comes into play and the fiasco and all that. But yeah, and it's not just defense contractors, right? Let's get
By the way,
the
here are the main ones:
right
Lockheed
there. You go.
Martin, Northrop Grumman,
Yeah,
Boeing, and Raytheon. So Boeing is probably the most recognizable, but you always hear about Martin, and Grumman as well.
yeah.
So there you
So
go.
yeah, and you hear Boeing makes a lot of. I think Boeing makes a lot of like the carriers. I know Lockheed Martin. I'm pretty sure they make like the C-130. Um, and then when you get into stuff like, because that's one of the big cargo planes, the propeller cargo planes. But then when you get into like the C-17, I'm pretty sure a C-17 is Boeing. Um, I don't know who makes it. Maybe Lockheed makes a C-5 guy. I'd have to look it all back up. But yeah, they all spread the contracts around. But it's you will never see those companies in front of Congress, and that's where I think it will matter, right? When that happens. And then it's not just the defense contractors. Why don't you call James Lukatsky back in front of Congress? Or not back, just pull him in. He's never been pulled in front. Why don't you pull these people like Hal Puthoff and these very technical people who have been hands-on?
Is it true Hal Puthoff is the one that briefs the presidents? Because I heard that said by someone very credible the other day, and I forget who, but they were talking about
it would not surprise me.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
He has an interview on Jesse Michaels coming up that should be a new one.
Well, that's cool.
And I think they described him as the guy that briefs the president. So maybe it's true.
Yeah, I don't know if that's official, if I've heard that officially, but it would not surprise me just because how long he's been around legacy programs, right? I mean, he's been at this for decades. So that would not shock me at all if that is the case. But one thing I will say is that I think we will now, if we see Congress, the signal to us that they're actually starting to take it serious is if that happens. If you see, okay, there's going to be a UFO congressional hearing, and it's going to be Dr. James Lukatsky, Hal Puthoff, and Lockheed Martin Scumworks, this guy. And, if it's something like that, okay, now we're talking, because now they're getting ready to like start actually cutting some meat off the bone. But until then, I mean, all these legacy people, like if they have another one with Lou up there or Chris Mellon, or just these legacy people that are in the echo chamber, the UFO echo chamber, as we call it, that they just keep reverberating the same story over and over again. We've all heard that shit. Like nobody's going to listen to it anymore. I mean, it's fine. I mean, if you're new to the topic, right, and you're just now taking it in, okay. I mean, it's interesting. But for those of us that have been paying attention for a long time, I mean, it's played out. Nobody gives a shit anymore. I mean, it's the same. It's just a UFO echo chamber. So, I mean, it's got to be somebody new in front of Congress that can bring new information that would actually expose something. So, Lockheed Skunk Works. Representative Burleson just said that he's got somebody that told him that the Tic Tac UFO has been through an iteration 1, 2, and 3, and he's going to show him pictures of it, and it's Lockheed. Okay, then go bring in someone from Lockheed. It's not that hard, So they won't do it, and that just shows you right there. I mean, there's just too much money at play. They get backed up by a lot of people anytime it gets close. So y'all remember a couple years ago, was it, when they tried to do the Schumer rounds amendment to one of the defense funding bills, and they tried to build in all this stuff. Remember, they were going to set up a panel. They were going to set up a UAP panel in the legislation. They were going to do eminent domain over anything that these defense contractors have. And remember, all that got fought back. And one of the biggest fighters was the guy, one of the senators up in Ohio, that was right there around Wright-Patterson.
Yeah, and it was 2023, 2024. He submitted the amendment intended to be proposed by him to authorize appropriations for fiscal year 2025 for military activities of the Department of Defense. And
that sounds familiar. Whoever just put that comment there, Everser said Mike Turner. That may be who I'm talking about. We'd have to Google it and see. But I think that may be the Ohio senator that cut it. I'm sorry. We don't have Matt Laszlo on right now. We need to have Matt on again because he's on Capitol Hill talking to these people.
Yeah, that one was good. You guys, by the way, if you haven't seen it, look up UFO Tarheel's interview with Matt Laszlo.
He actually texted me today because he was asking me about something where we were exchanging some texts. But I need to have Matt back on because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on just in the U.S. in general right now, where he's shoving the mic in people's faces, getting answers right. But yeah, so they were doing that legislation a couple years ago, and they were trying to put meat on the bones so that we could start cutting into it, right? And they couldn't, and it got killed. So it's the same reason why when someone says, why don't they have Lockheed on in front? Well, we can't even get it in legislation, like meaningful legislation.
So Mike Johnson fired House Intelligence Chair Mike Turner this week, and apparently it was about Donald
Wow.
Trump. So
Wow. But he was Ohio, right? Yeah, I'm pretty
yeah,
sure that he looks familiar. But he's around Wright Pat in Ohio. And, everyone
yeah.
knows Wright Pat is like supposed to be bigger than Area 51 as far as when it comes to ufology.
And didn't they shut down the airspace around there
Yeah.
during the whole drone thing for
Yep.
3 days? This
Yep.
drone thing that was nothing, they shut down the airspace.
Shut down the airspace.
Uh,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, because I mean, ufology world just blew up when that happened, because everybody's like, Right Pat just got shut down for 3 hours because of UAP. But Corso, Philip Corso, he says in his book, Day After Roswell, that's where the crates of evidence were taken after Roswell was to Wright Pat. So, but yeah, so the senator up there, I mean, he shut down all that, and they said a lot of his main contributors to him personally, Mike Turner's campaigns were these companies. So, I mean, all these Congress people, they're all mostly all filthy anyways. I mean, maybe except Bernie. Bernie may be the only one that's filthy, and he's going to leave office like worth like $700 or something. And the whole time he's like, I told you not to listen to these So we should have just listened to Bernie. He's going to be worth like $2 when he leaves office, and he's going to be the only clean one. The rest of them, they enter office and they're only worth about $1,000, and they leave like $80 million in the bank. And you're like, wow, they turned into financial savants whenever they took office, right? How did they go from zero to, well, it's obvious. And when people ask this question is, why is Lockheed not being called in? Well, go look up top lobbying firms and who lobbies the most in America and who spends the most on lobbying. And I'm telling you right now, it's Lockheed. And I mean, obviously the oil companies are up there, British Petroleum, and you'll see ConocoPhillips and all these, like the oil companies, they're lobbying all the time. But the defense contractors spend tons of lobbying, and that money gets fed in whether we like it or not. It's part of our politics. So that unfortunately impacts ufology, right? I mean, we can't get anywhere because there's big money at play here. We can't mess with this stuff because we're trying to win wars, and we're trying to I mean, look what's going on right now in Iran and Israel. We are giving Israel this stuff. I mean, Trump just came out and said that, hey, Iran, you turned down a deal. You're now dying because we fund Israel with these weapons, and they're going to have the best weapons in the world because they're coming from us. So we do proxy wars like with this. We may not be in it, but our tech is in it, right? So I think that's why, you have two things going on. If you have ufology over here, but you have actual defense work going on over here, they're not going to jeopardize this for this. So they're not going to say, yeah, we'll take a whack at our stance defensively to bite off a big chunk of ufology over here because you guys have space age tech. So I think that's just something that goes on.
Do you think with all that military activity happening, hopefully yesterday's was the worst of it. I'll pray for that. But do you think we're going to see an increase in UAP activity, monitoring what's going on?
Um, I think that there will be loads of stories coming out because drone activity is in play. Apparently, Mossad, which is the Israeli version of the CIA, had implanted drones in Iran. So they attacked within. So I think you'll hear some of that, but how it impacts the bigger story, I mean, it'll calm down. It always does. They were just trading bombs just a few months ago. They were doing this exact same thing. Now, this may be ratcheted up a little bit because Israel is targeting their actual nuclear sites in and around Tehran. So, that's where it's definitely elevating. But I've already seen Bledsoe trying to, jump on this as a profiting moment, and it's just like someone coming out
I've
with
seen a lot of people do that actually, and I just
Yeah.
don't. They've never actually stopped any wars. There's no history of that. Maybe it'll change
No.
now that we actually. That's the one thing I saw someone bring up not too long ago. Like they weren't that interested in us until now that we're actually going into their space. We were not doing that before. It's only been the last 150 years. So maybe that's why they're being more interested lately. Or are we just able to see them better now? Maybe there's no difference in the activity.
Yeah. And that's a good way of looking at it. And we will definitely go there. Someone just put it in the comments. Jock the Hydra said that about the soldier astronaut on the moon. That's a cool comment. We'll have to talk about that.
Well, now I'm curious because I haven't heard about this one, but I'll look it up.
Oh, see if you could pull that video up. It's a little snippet. So there's this guy and he's talking. I think he's I don't know, maybe Jock will know who it is, but they're talking. It was like maybe a congressman, maybe a senator, but they're sitting there talking and they're like, yeah, and I'm in contact with even one of our soldiers on the moon that's talking about, and it's like, wait, we have someone on the moon, so we didn't. Everyone right now is scrambling to try to figure out if that guy misspoke or what, but I saw it briefly in my feed. I didn't I forgot to save it, but that's definitely an interesting comment if you found the video on that, Hannibal. But yeah.
Yeah, I see there is a video from Fox News covering it, but does it actually show the soldier on the moon? Because
Oh, no, it doesn't. It's just
okay,
a video of a guy and he's talking about certain things and then
because
he's
they covered it here, like Fox News
yeah, there you
covered
go.
this.
So who is that? Okay, US Army Secretary. Okay.
Dan
But yeah,
Driscoll.
I don't know if it'll let you play audio, but there's a part of
Yeah, it
that
will.
that
right
are
there. He just said it. Back it
nations
up maybe like 10,
actually
15
going to war
seconds.
and fighting to defend the freedom. Yesterday, who's on the moon, who's a soldier.
Oh, here we go.
Did you hear him?
Yeah, and I'll put the closed captions on here.
California. Or we talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier, including actually going to war and fighting to defend the freedoms that are
including actually go to war.
Like,
yeah, because he said an astronaut who's on the moon, and here it is, and you can even see the closed caption. Let's just reread this again. This is very interesting.
Talked to an astronaut yesterday who's on the moon, who's a soldier, including
he just says it so casually.
War and fighting to defend the freedoms.
The only thing I could think of is that maybe we have one on the ISS, and he said the moon. I don't know. Maybe he's like thinking of it like big picture. I don't know, but to our knowledge, we don't have anyone on the moon. There are no boots on the ground on the moon unless this guy has. Yeah. So yeah, that's extremely.
But he clearly says the moon there.
I don't know how you just mess up and say that. It's just we got a soldier on the moon, and I meant to say Nebraska. It's like, what the hell? You said the moon, man. So why would you say that? I don't know. And he didn't try to clear it up either. So yeah, I'm very interested in that because that has always been talked that Buzz Aldrin had that hidden for a long time until he finally started talking about it, where audio was released of the astronauts saying we are under observation, and then Houston cut the audio, but the audio's out there where they say, or someone else is up here, and we're under observation, Houston, and someone's watching, and then they cut the audio. So I'm a strong believer that they saw something while they were up there. Now what did they see? I don't know. We were talking about it just 2 episodes ago of the guy that came out, and this is covered on when Jesse Michaels was on Rogan, I'm pretty sure, of the guy who was shown the bases on the moon, and he was killed on bike accident because that's what everybody was. Well, what was messed up is the guy that they were talking about on Rogan, Jesse Michaels and Rogan, the guy, and I cannot think of his name. I'm sorry. My brain isn't that good like a Richard Dolan or a Nick Pope where I can just remember everyone's name. But there's this interview with a guy, and they showed him the pictures of the bases on the backside of the moon, on the ass of the moon, and it apparently he knew he wasn't supposed to be seeing it. Someone showed it to him, and more of like a, hey, Hannibal, check out these photos, and he knew right away he shouldn't be looking at them, and he was afraid for his life. Later on, that guy died of a bicycle. When I say bike, not motorcycle, like I'm pretty sure he was just bicycling and was killed, struck and hit. So everybody started wondering, is something to Greer's story where Greer said there was an attempt at his life. Greer shows up last year, a year before last, and his face is beat all to hell. And he said he got in a biking accident or something. And everybody was like, whoa, wait a second. Greer said he had a biking accident. And then this other guy who saw the base on the ass of the moon, and he got killed biking. So everybody's like, maybe that is a preferred way of going after people, is the biking accident. I don't know, but Greer says his biking accident, or his biking attempted assassination is what Greer calls it, was with his bike seat. He said he had a bike seat malfunction, and that was someone trying to kill him. So
I would think if they really wanted Greer gone, he could be gone and would have probably been gone a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean,
the best they can do is a bike seat malfunction with all the money that these operatives have, and they wouldn't try and poison him secretly, or
there you go.
I've heard Russia stuff of paint on walls that will slowly kill you. If one of the things that they come up with,
we don't even know all the ways. Those direct energy things that have been exposed that give people the headaches and stuff like that, those have been used on people. And if the Russian government can do it, like if Putin can kill people just by having them like a pinprick or tapping them on the shoulder as they're going through an airport and there's a built-in needle or something, go look them up. However many ways Russia assassinates
and
people.
Isn't that you could even like just walk by someone and
just brushing by them. Right, exactly. Yeah. Just brush right by them and hit them with something and they're dead. So he'd be dead if they wanted him dead. I just don't think he's dead because I think they keep him in close watch, but they know that he is they know that they can like play on that, right? Like they know he comes off ridiculous sometimes, so they can play on that.
We haven't heard too much from him in recent weeks. He's kind of, I guess maybe some of his prophecies didn't come true and he's just laying low for a bit before he comes up with something else.
It's getting prophecy time, man. I mean, everybody's got them. I saw Whitley Strieber out prophesying again here this week, and he said something like,
Whitley Strieber can be way too much sometimes. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I mean, and he seems to be really enjoying attention lately.
Yeah. But I mean, the big one is still Bledsoe. So they're watching that. For people that didn't know, there is a video on that, Contact in the Desert. Bledsoe's out there. Okay. Bledsoe films a plane coming in. Now, Bledsoe's saying it's, one of his orbs. And it's coming in and it banks right. Luckily, people have not watched this guy. He's pretty cool. Patrick at Vetted. Patrick was out at Contact in the Desert too. And Patrick's like, yeah, man, it was a plane. I mean, sorry, that was totally an airplane. And I think Patrick even said that they vetted it on flight radar or something. So there's a plane coming in. Now, here's the funny thing about Bledsoe. Did you know that if you are at a viewing with him and you're watching the orbs, you are not supposed to be pulling up your phone and checking flight radar. You're not supposed to be pulling out your laptop or phone or tablet and checking one of the satellite tracking apps. That is breaking your spiritual outpulse. I don't even know what you want to say, your spiritual signal that you're sending up to these beings that you want to see them. And apparently in the video, they say, some of them say that he got frustrated at people who were doing that. So I mean, there's more and more every time we come back to this guy, and we cover him a lot on this channel because he's the biggest prophecy out there. He's the one that put a date to Easter of next year, and he's got the biggest prophecy out there. He's in with the CIA. There's pictures of him flying out to contact in the desert on a private jet, and someone noticed the CIA logo on his backpack. And I mean, it just gets weirder and weirder, the guy's story. I mean, it's just like,
Wow.
this is
I
crazy.
didn't know that CIA had logos on backpacks. That's pretty cool.
We all knew he was in with the CIA because of him talking about Jim Semivan all the time. But yeah, well, but it was. No, and it doesn't. Look, whoever just said that, listen, I hear you. Planes have blinking lights. They do. As someone that lives right here near Charlotte and they're coming in here banking, they're coming at me all night. So where I am, I'm north of Charlotte Airport. And I completely agree with what this person's saying down here. I'm not coming after you, Everson. I'm just saying, like, I'm watching one right now, actually. Depending on where they are and the cloud cover, sometimes all you get is that big ass headlight on the front of the plane. I don't know what you call it, but it's just a big landing light, right? That you see. And then you have the red and green lights that blink. Sometimes I never get to see those until they're right up on me. If they're out more in front of me, I get that big white light. And then especially if they bank away from me, I may never get to see that. There was cloud cover that night. So the one that Patrick saw, you see a light. And dude, this isn't refutable. It was on, they had it on flight radar. And it was not just him. Several people said that was on, they had it on the radar, and it was a plane. I even think I heard this week when I was talking to some others, they said even Ryan Bledsoe came out and said that was a plane, his own son. So, it's like, but not even worrying about that. Like, everyone keeps talking about, like, is this guy trying to build a cult following like some religious leader? And he keeps doing stuff where it's like doing that. Like, what do we see the big religious leaders doing in our country here in America? They get their private jets, right? The TV preachers and ones like that, they get their private jets and they fly around on them.
Which makes no sense.
Yeah. Kenneth Copeland,
Jesus
I think, is the
would
one.
not have been on a private jet. I mean, it's not supposed to be about material things.
No, but Kenneth Copeland, I think, is the one that says that Jesus wouldn't have rode on a donkey, though, if he had a jet. I'm pretty sure he said that. So have you never watched the Copeland video of where he's confronted by
no, I've
the
never
news lady?
seen it. I'll have to look it up.
Oh my gosh, man. You have to watch that because that guy is
Bledsoe
wild.
is not Real. Oh, that's funny. You're talking about the other UFO. Well, it was more of a cult than anything to do. I guess what he thought there was some alien civilization that he was brainwashing people with, but he was pretty disgusting, that Real guy, which we don't have to get into, but I saw the Netflix documentary on him.
So what makes a cult? A cult, you have a religious leader or some kind of spiritual leader. Done. Bledsoe. You have an immaculate message that you're putting out there, that you're in touch. You are a person that is in touch with that phenomenon, Bledsoe. You can help others get in touch with that. And you're trying to sell something, a book, a message, a conference, a meeting, Bledsoe. And you have people who believe it without verifying. And that is very important in cults, right? Belief without verification, trust but verified. They don't do that. You're supposed to, that is breaking the faith with who you are looking to for leadership. You can't question them. You're not supposed to stop. And when you start stopping and questioning, that's when you've broke the faith with your spiritual leader. And that's what makes a cult leader, right? So that's where, that's why people are going that route. And then now he's showing up with private jets and stuff. Look, I'm just saying he's not, and it's not just me. A lot of people saw that and said, wow, he's flying around on, and when he posted it like he could care less if you liked it or not. He was on the private jet. And I went and checked the chat, and some people were calling him out. They were like, you have a private jet now? Wow. And he's like, no, I just have some good friends. And it's like, okay, wonder who those friends are. Yeah. I mean, so it makes you wonder.
I just want to say one thing about that Real Netflix documentary, which was interesting but disturbing. And they even camped near Montreal, somewhere in between the Montreal area that's not too far from where I'm originally from, Ottawa. But one of the rituals that they do, by the way, he could have sex with any of the girls on the campsite, even if they were like with men, and he would also be with very young girls, which is controversial. But they would do a ritual where they would all sit in a circle and take mirrors and get naked and examine their buttholes
What the
and they'd all
hell?
sit and examine them together and get comfortable with the inner part of the body. And I'm just like, all
What the
right,
hell?
this is beyond weird. He ended up moving to Japan or somewhere in Asia to get away from all these various. I think they all have to do with pretty much underage kids, from what I understand. But that's on Netflix. If you want an alien documentary, he built a UFO at one point. It didn't go.
Oh,
It didn't move anywhere or anything. But
yeah.
he's nuts.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's just one of those things where, that's the reason why we're watching some of this, right? We're watching some of this
Billy
because people,
Meyer, another
yeah.
one.
And look, and I don't know all the cult leaders. I don't follow all of it. You know, we keep saying one of these days we're going to come back to a religious podcast and tie it all in together. I promise you, I'm trying to have on a religion person that can dig into that a little bit with me and that can kind of counterbalance that, like a Diana Pasulka. I'm pushing Hannibal. You see me on X trying to get a hold of her. We'll have on Carolina Garcia, who has interviewed Diana Pasulka later or next weekend. So maybe Carolina can help me like get in contact with her. I don't know. She's kind of stepped away, so she may not be wanting to do anything right now in ufology. Is what it sounds like. So she's kind of stepped back from it a little bit. And that's my angle with Diana is like you've wrote these really good books, tying in religion to ufology, showing how there's a lot of similarities to ufology being a religion. And let's stay away from ufology then, and let's just talk about the religion part of it. So that's my pitch to her. Is like, if you don't want to talk about ufology no more, fine. But I won't bring up Gary Nolan or Jacques Vallée. We can just talk about the religion side of it. But we'll see. I would like to have her on.
That's the Real guy, by the way. You
Ah,
can't get any more of your classic UFO alien prophet type guy than him.
yeah, I've not watched that, so I will have to
Yeah,
watch that.
yeah. But Billy
But
Meyer, he's interesting. I mean, for people that aren't familiar with him, I forget what country he's in, but he had a huge amount of UFO pictures, some a lot more credible than others. But I believe some of his girlfriends outed him as at least faking some of them. And overall, I wouldn't find him to be that credible.
right, yeah. And I mean, but other than that, I mean, this week so those were kind of your big news. It was obviously the Wall Street Journal story, which is still kind of unfolding. It was the stuff happening with Deputy Director Tim Phillips from Arrow, former Deputy
Oh, he's from
Director.
Switzerland, by the way. Billy
Yeah.
Meyer was from Switzerland, for anyone wondering.
Ah. But yeah, and actually while I was looking up here, Alejandro Rojas was the one who reported that he said on X that there were some people in the crowd with Bledsoe that said they also said the crowd was told something like, don't doubt because those are negative thoughts. He also got frustrated with people pointing out airplanes. So talking about Bledsoe again. So, I think the runway is starting to get very, very short with that story. And I'm noticing more and more detractors. Or when I say detractors, I only mean it as like skeptic. Look, I have no proof he's lying. If Bledsoe is seeing orbs, I have no proof he isn't. I mean, I have it for the specific cases where he's saying that's an orb right there, and people have pulled out flight radar and are like, Chris, that's flight 1712, whatever, out of Boston, that is there. But all of his other story, I have no proof that he's not telling the truth. So he may be very truthful in some of the things he's saying. And then sometimes maybe he just gets overzealous when he's doing these big mass viewing parties, and maybe the orbs aren't showing up, and maybe he just gets overzealous, and any light in the sky, he gets excited about it. I don't know. But I have heard, I was in, you can go in these spaces on X and hang out and listen to people's feedback, people who are at these conventions and stuff like that. And I did hear one person also say on X that they were seeing this satellite or an airplane or something, and Chris was telling a woman that was standing there, and she was very touched by what she was seeing, and Chris started telling her that was her daughter waving at her. Apparently her daughter had passed away, and he was telling her, that's your daughter waving at you from heaven or something. See, and I mean, if that kind of stuff is going on and he's trying to like play on people's feelings, that's where I have a problem. That's where I have an issue. And then a lot of people have really deflated a lot of people whenever he went out and put a date out. So when he put the date of 2026, that would be when Christ returns, there was a massive deflation in the community because people are like, oh, you did the cardinal sin. You never put a date out there. Just leave it general. The lady in white told me she's coming, and she's coming soon. That's the same thing that a lot of people of the Christian faith will say of Jesus. They don't know the date, but they have a faith that they believe that Christ is coming again soon, but they can't tell you a date. Okay, but at least they leave the door open to it should be soon though, right? You don't put a date to it. He went and put a date on it, and it's just like, oh man, you don't do that, because now what's going to happen next spring? What's going to happen whenever we go into our normal mode of summer and it didn't happen? He's going to have to really,
Well, according to Grok, I just asked the short answer. Are Chris Bledsoe's claims legit? Chris Bledsoe's claims about UFOs and spiritual encounters lack verifiable evidence and are widely debated. Some view him as a fraud, while others believe his experiences. No definitive proof supports his claims. So there you
Either
go.
way.
Elon Musk's likely opinion right there.
Yeah, either way. But other than that, not to be harping on Bledsoe too much.
I got to ask you, since we brought it up last week,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on Musk kind of reneging his comments, saying he was too hard on President Trump regarding the Epstein files? Do you think it was just him saying that out of anger, and then he was told to retract it for the good of everybody, or why do you think he retracted it?
I think Elon is a 9-year-old in an older guy's body. I think that's what happened. So, that's what I think of Elon, so you're going to see some weird stuff out of him. I mean, you can just watch his antics. I mean, they show one dinner party he's at, and there was something sitting off to the side, and he was like making it fly through the sky. I mean, it's like watching a 9-year-old. I have 3 children. 2 of them are teenagers, and I have one very young child, and my son, and it's like watching him. So I think Elon is just like a little kid, a bright little kid trapped in a man's body, and yeah, he absolutely. Trump bumped him, that day during a press conference and said something about him, and he lashed out, and now he's trying to take it back. So, but who cares? I mean, like no one trusts anything he says in ufology because, he's got contracts, right? So, I mean, he's part of this whole money game. When someone was asking earlier, why is Lockheed not sitting in front of Congress? I mean, well, why isn't anyone from SpaceX who's up there with satellites and they see tons of shit? Why are they not, in front of Congress? Well, it's because it's all tied into the money here. So, but, I will say this as far as like some of the phenomenon stuff coming out this week. I was just going to mention real quick while we have time that there was some some more sphere sightings, but now it seems like people are digging into some of these newer videos, and they said that they do appear to be doctored. Something's going on. Like you can hear people like controlling the sphere in the video or something. So there is a guy, if people want to check out his analysis on it, check out Pro Pixel Video Analysis on X. He did one of the recent videos about a day ago on the UAP Booga Sphere. And he calls out some concerning stuff about those videos. So those appear to be kind of dropping off. That I don't know if that's getting a lot of like attention anymore, because it just seems like something weird's going on there. But I did find out what that plane was. So when we were talking about Bledsoe earlier, and people, we were sitting here talking about it, it was flight FDY 808. It was a Pilatus PC-12 turboprop. So if you're saying, well, there should be blinkers on it, or you should see the FAA lights or the red and green lights. Well, it was a small PC-12 turboprop. You're probably not, if that, depending on the altitude of that plane, it's probably not putting off massive lights out on the wings. So the lights out on the wings is where you're going to see the alternating red and green lights, and then they're going to have their big landing light in the center. So, but yeah, it was identified down to the flight number, the aircraft that was in the sky, and Chris said it was an angelic orb. So there you have
By
it.
the way, I have to bring this up because he's true. No one's going to remember this wrestling gimmick, but Mort Goldberg, talent agent, one of the members here of this channel that gets access to some special footage and special emojis, but no one uses the emojis. Mort, give us one of those emojis. He thinks you look like Beaver Cleavage from WWE 1998-ish. I actually see a slight resemblance. I think
nice.
He's got a good observation. It was a terrible gimmick, but he had girls, so there you go. Anyway, sorry to distract, but that's a good observation.
No, bring him on. I love it. I love it. Somebody else had another one they said I look like on here. It was Drake. Someone's like, you look like Drake. And I was like, no, I don't. But there was someone else in wrestling that someone said I look like.
Yeah, I remember that, but I forget who that was.
And it was a guy that had like a unibrow. And I'm like, I don't have a unibrow. Which wrestler had a unibrow?
The only one that sticks out to me was Zeus, but I don't know which, but he was black. So wrestlers with...
The dude had a unibrow. So if this...
was it Santino Marella?
I can't remember,
but you don't look like him.
I was like, man, I don't have a... I mean,
I believe it was Santino. Yeah, that's got to be...
I don't have a unibrow. No, I don't. I'll make sure that's separated. Two.
I'll put it up and maybe you'll remember. He was a comedy wrestler. Apparently you look like the comedy wrestlers.
Okay,
let me...
Not bad. But they did also, someone said in the comment, they did see the Kenneth Copeland video. Yes, his eyes were demonic. I'm telling you, if you want a good laugh for this week, Hannibal, when you get done, watch the Kenneth Copeland. And I want to say it's Inside Edition who was interviewing him, and they caught him.
Was it this guy? Because you do somewhat look like him in the face, but you look more... To me, you do look more like him. If it's between the two. And I totally forgot about this guy. So good job, Mort. But Kenneth Copeland, okay. We'll move on from the unibrow guy and Beaver Cleavage.
I've heard Jack Black. Someone, Lee Hart, said... I'm guessing they're saying I look like Jack Black. I have heard the Jack Black one before too.
I don't know if I see that, but
I don't know. But I have heard that. So Lee Hart 21. Don't feel bad. Like I have heard the Jack Black one, and don't worry, you can't hurt my feelings. I could give a rat's ass what anybody thinks.
He's a multi-millionaire that's had his funny moments. I mean, I'll say Nacho Libre just for the wrestling is the only movie that I semi-watched of his, but I don't even know what he's been up to lately, but he's had a good career overall.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I don't care what I look like. I am happily married, so I don't have to worry anymore. She's locked in, so I'm good. But yeah, no, it is very interesting week to week. Apparently, we are supposed to be getting more reports. or there's supposed to be more counterclaims going on. So if people haven't watched it, Jesse Michaels just released his video of like a retort to the Wall Street Journal's
Yes, and that
report.
was very good. I watched that.
It's only
today.
19 minutes, so it's actually a consumable Jesse Michaels piece where you don't have to devote 3 hours to it. So that's probably why you got to see it, Hannibal, is like you didn't have to devote your day. Watch it. It's very good. But we are going to have on Wednesday. I booked it. I was talking to Hannibal about it. It's Dr. G. And Dr. G is going to be on. And Dr. G's big time, man. He has got like 300 some thousand followers on YouTube, and he does the body language stuff. And he's recently done a couple on like Bob Lazar, and he did one on Jake Barber. And this guy's been on long.
This is the demonic Kenneth Arnold.
But if you watch the one where he is approached in the hangar, he's getting in his car, and you'll probably have to look up Kenneth Copeland Inside Edition or something like that. Oh my gosh, it's freaking hilarious. There it is. It's that top one. But she like runs him down. Apparently he had bought Tyler Perry's jet, and he had told her that he didn't want to be in a tube of demons. That's why he didn't fly commercial. So she's asking him like, did you really say that?
That's a very evil smile.
Oh man. And he keeps calling her darling. And then he like starts commenting on her eyes. He's like, I love your eyes. And he's calling her baby and all this other stuff.
Who is he? I don't even know.
He's just a big televangelist. He's just a massive televangelist. And but he's apparently got some major cash because he bought Tyler Perry's private jet. And
yeah. Well, as the legendary superstar Billy Graham, who was a friend of mine, he was an evangelist for a while. He says they're the best workers ever. He learned how to do his wrestling promo that made him champion from the evangelist. And what is it, Mojo? Have you ever seen that movie? He told me to watch this. And it's about how the evangelists work. And it's sad that some of them take advantage. I'm not going to say they're all like that.
Yeah, no, and I don't know if they all are either, but yeah, it's interesting. Some of the people we got coming up, like Dr. G, who I was talking about, he was on Law and Crime Network. He was on Court TV, or is, I guess he still does it some. This guy knows his stuff. Very interesting. If y'all haven't had a chance to watch his Jake Barber video, because he is like, he'll tell you 99% of the time when they do the one of their criminal profiling of like where he looks at the body language and speech and everything of other people. Yeah, there he is.
Yeah. And I think I've heard he's also done Bob Lazar, hasn't he? One of my lawyer friends from New York, Brian Benson, I'll shout him out because he's a great guy. He, I think he made me watch the Bob Lazar one. Yeah. And he had actually said that he examined Bob Lazar's body language and found it real.
Yeah, and I think he finds a lot. Now, I've not finished the Jake Barber one, but I'm pretty sure he finds a lot of Jake's real. So, and he said, look, this is coming. He said, if y'all have watched all my videos, 99% of the time he finds people are lying. So the fact that he's watched Jake and Bob and he thinks that he's got some surprising takes. So, and he's getting into ufology. So that's why I offered him on. Maybe he can kind of give us his insights as like someone that's starting to step into ufology. He's a big wrestling fan, so he likes the channel for that. But it's gonna be
I'll have to ask him about some wrestlers one day. You can definitely tell him that I would like to interview him in the future as well. But yeah, you got some good ones coming up. So guys, make sure you subscribe because there's definitely a lot coming in all the domains of this channel, including a movie that I'm producing in August.
Yeah. Yeah. And having someone on like this who can kind of give his professional take on it of what he's seeing, obviously watch on Wednesday. It'll be live, and he's looking for a lot of y'all's feedback of who he should look at next. He's looked at the two big names, right? Jake, the most recent big time whistleblower, and he's looked at Bob Lazar, the most legacy UFO whistleblower number one, right? who else should he? I have to look him up as far as what else Dr. G has done. I don't think he's done Grush, but I'll have to double check. I think maybe he did do the Grush one where Fravor and all those guys were in there, but I'll have to double check. Maybe he has done Grush, but if he's not, I already have some I'm going to have on a list that I'd like to see Dr. G evaluate and look at their movements. Because
has he done Greer yet?
Greer, I don't think so. I mean, I was scrolling through his channel, and the only ones that stuck out to me that I saw was Bob Lazar and Jake Barber. But if he's done more, I'm not, because he's done so many that, you know, I just think when you listen to him, he gives you a lot of information that you would have never even thought about when someone is profiling you for deception. You know, if you're trying to deceive others, what are some things that you do when you're trying to deceive others? And he gets really deep down in there. So Dr. G is going to be an interesting one, and it'll give us kind of like someone who's not wrapped up in ufology yet. I love that. I mean, and that's not knocking anyone you've had on Hannibal that is wrapped up in ufology, like Nick Pope, right? We've heard Nick Pope a lot, and I would love to hear Nick Pope again, because sometimes he's bringing some new stuff to the table. But when you get someone like Dr. G on, you know, I mean, this is not really his space as far as where he's been completely saturated and everything. So he's not like tainted yet with all this ufology world and like picking a side. And does he like Lou? Does he not like Lou? But I would like to see him profile Lou Elizondo, some of these big names that come out like that, and see what he thinks about them. Because, you know,
I'd like to see him profile the video where Lou says for the recent pictures that were fake, where he says,
and there is something, guys.
That'd be interesting to know.
Something about Lou real quick, and I have to do more verification on it. I really didn't want to bring it up too much today, but there's some photos circulating on X where apparently someone was talking to Lou, and Lou sent them alien photos is the claim. Now, I don't know this to be 100%, but everyone's been circling it. But apparently someone who had been texting with Lou sent them some photos of aliens. And when you look at the photos, it's actually stillbirths. You know, it's like kids that were premature that didn't make it, and it's kind of messed up. So and the reason why I don't look that much into it is because if that's the case, I don't want to see the photos. B, I think that's really screwed up, and I don't want to be anywhere near that story if that's the case, if that's true. But that's something I'm trying to find out, like if there's any real thing to that, because that's really weird if Lou was sending people pictures of like premature babies and telling them it was aliens. You know, but it's been circulated quite a bit this past week, and it just started popping up. I've not saved any photos of it. I don't even know if we'd want to show it here, but it's definitely weird photos or something. But when I saw it, I was like, man, I mean, here we go again. Another Lou showing weird photos again. I mean, it's just like, I mean, we cannot get this guy away from like weird deception type stuff where it just seems like it's too stupid to be fake, right? You know?
Where it seems like he's purposely trying to make himself less credible, because why time and time again would it happen? What do you think of these Greenland sightings that have been coming up lately? Before we wrap it up here, a lot of people are saying there might be secret USA bases there monitoring this hub of UAP activity in Greenland.
And that was documented too on, wasn't it Ross's?
Yeah, he interviewed. That was not one of the more exciting ones, but he interviewed a couple of them about it for sure. But apparently they think that there's rare mineral deposits around that area that the UAP could be interested in.
And that's what sparked so much of the speculation, is why is Trump all of a sudden wanting to have Greenland? You know, just a random... And he says
no president you've ever, can we really remember having much interest in that before?
Yeah, I can think of some better countries to go after, you know, and that's nothing against the people of Greenland. I'm just talking about like some there's better fishing there. There's like, it's more tropical climate. Like like, you know, Puerto Rico is a pretty awesome place. Like, and we work them into like trying to be part of us. Like, let's go find some islands, you know, that are down in the Caribbean, and let's make that part of someplace I can fly to and not have to have a passport. And it's like good for me. But Greenland, why? I mean, so that's why I kind of fed some of that, is if there is something going on there, then maybe that would be a reason why he was kind of pushing for that, or someone in the community is pushing for that. The problem is that, and again, not to get too political, but Trump is easy to persuade to say certain things. So I'm wondering sometimes who is in his ear, and who is telling him things. And I think sometimes people know, like, hey, we can get him to perpetuate this message if we tell him, and he'll believe us and he'll push it out there and everything else. So, but there may be some strategic stuff. Like, he wanted Canada too, right? He wants y'all to join join forces.
And that's not going over well. And I know a lot of Canadians, including my own parents, but a lot of Canadians, like people that I know. And again, I'm not part of. I'm in the U.S. right now. I'm a very pro-American person, but a lot of Canadians are like boycotting coming here for their summer vacations, and they're saying, I'm not coming back until Trump's no longer president, because they're so offended at him saying that they want to make it the 51st state, which I would actually not mind. I think there'd be a lot of benefits to it. But
yeah, because you're very pro-US, right? I mean, just like you said, you like spending time here.
Yeah.
And then I go up. My first time going to Canada was on a cruise, and when I went up there, I mean, yeah, those people want to stay in Canada, and they don't want anything really to do with us other than if we want to come in and spend some money every now and then. So, but
there's a lot of false narratives that it's much more dangerous here than it is, and it's much more overpopulated than it is, and so forth. And everyone has guns and whatever. I don't have those views, obviously.
Yeah, but you know, it's one of those things. Whenever you're looking at strategic advantages, I guess I could understand with Greenland. But you know, I didn't, when I watched that special and I saw what they were taking a picture of, you know, it's like, okay, I mean, it's interesting. Don't get me wrong, but it's just more lights in the sky. I can't really see what's going on. And, you know, there's a lot of story to it. When something is 90% story and 10% they show you something, it's really hard for me to like stick around, because I'm just like, okay, there's so much. And Ross has been so bad at that recently. Again, for me, just to be critical, if I get to put my critique hat on, he's had a lot of specials recently where they're like 95% story and then 5% like showing you something. And I'm telling you, when those happen, I mean, it's a little rough, you know, because I'm wanting to actually see what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's a turnoff. And they used to be one of the first channels I would want to watch every day just to catch up. But like, if you go down that path too many times, you just really don't want to go down it unless you're about to do a podcast like this and you want to kind of get caught up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got a big interview next week then, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to be stepping into the UFO domain with a guy that was at Contact in the Desert, and he's a publicist, Dan Hardy, and he's going to really fill me in on everything that went down at Contact in the Desert. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'll let you wrap us up, Casey. And we are looking into doing something special with this show that we won't talk about yet, but I'm hoping within the next 4 to 6 weeks we'll get this figured out.
Cool. Yeah. And thanks again, everybody. We got a huge number on tonight, and yeah, definitely check us out Wednesday, you know, when we have Dr. G on. And then next weekend, obviously we'll be back in our normal time, I'm guessing. And then, but next Saturday night, I think, is when we have Carolina Garcia, and we may even have Vinny on as well from Disclosure Team. Definitely Carolina will be there. I think she's trying to work out for Vinny to be on as well, because they have a good channel. So yeah, check us out.
Are they together? Sorry to get into that, but I'm always a gossip person because I was just curious.
I'll ask her. I'll see what she has to say about that. Yeah, maybe we can get some information out. She's got some music to share, man, and that she's doing some like music of her own too. So that's going to be a cool interview next. I believe we're doing it next Saturday, and it'll be late. I think it's like a 10:30 p.m. showing. So